their Royal Commission staff. In this video, I will discuss the argument that the current banking supervision is not sufficient to provide adequate protection for the customers. With the critical analysis of some bankers' irregular behaviors, such as the dereliction of duty, I will also make some suggestions about the improvement of regulatory system. According to the statement that the Treasurer George Frydenberg made in Canberra on February 4, 2019, he claimed that the banking and financial industry has to change from today onwards and forever. Our community has paid a huge price for some of the bankers' misconduct actions, not only for the economy, but also for the crisis of trust in banks and government regulators. Following the submission of final report by the Financial Services Royal Commission, some improper practices of banking institutions, especially for the major bank organizations, which occupy a large share of the market, have been exposed to the public in the past few years. On the one hand, it reflects the failure of banks to fulfill their duties as bankers. On the other hand, it shows that the supervision of government departments is not good enough. As the four pillars of the Australian financial market, the Big Four banks cover over 80% shares in the market. Similarly to the problem of too big to fail, the disclosure of huge negative news and operational scandals may cause significant losses to the interests of these banks, which may subsequently lead to the whole market turmoil. Therefore, when these large companies are traced to have carried out the misconduct, which have harmed the interests of their customers, the Australian Securities and Investment Commission generally just issue the infringement notice instead of using the legal means. In reality, these fines are far from enough to curb banks' interest-driven actions against customers. One of the shocking misconducts is that the banks charge fees for service that were never actually provided to customers. Even in some special instances, the bank was charging fees to customers for up to a decade without providing service and including to some who were deceased. When the growing competition among banking industries and increased high-level performance requirements within banks, it is clear that the banks pay more attention to develop the systems to collect revenue rather than the system that ensures the clients receive the service. Despite under the supervision of the Twin Peaks, April and Essex, it is reported by the Australian Financial Review that $360 million in fees has been refunded to the customers from the Big Four banks plus AMP. The real dilemma behind the problem still exists. The spokesman of CBA declared that they have so far refunded $118 million in fees for no service, but insisted that these fees were charged because of hopeless information systems that were unable to monitor whether service had actually been provided to customers, rather than any deliberate decision to charge these fees for no service. There is no doubt that the primary goal of banks is to maximize their own interest, but the bottom line is that the banks can't breach the legislation and harm the basic interest of customers while seeking better returns. One of the famous cases of the misconduct about fee for no service is the CBA Commercial Bank, Commercial Financial Planning Limited, and the Court Financial Planning. From the chase in the relevant legislation, these misconducts were alleged to breach the Corporations Act, the Banking Act, and the Essex Act. These clients who were charged fees for no service were either clients who were allocated a financial advisor where that financial advisor failed to provide ongoing service to the client, or the orphan clients who were no longer allocated to an active financial advisor and were charged fees without receiving any financial advice or service. The relevant legislation that the bankers breach is shown on the paper. For example, in this case, the banker was alleged to breach point A and D in number 1 of Section 912A, the Corporations Act. They failed to provide the financial service covered by the license without the lack of available resource. Obviously, the regulation of banking industry is not enough nowadays. Two major government prudential authorities, April and Essex, should be authorized more power and given more financial support. Under the Banking Act Section 11A, April has been given the power to develop prudential standards. So in response to the ever-changing banking service model and information management system, the April should make more detailed standards about the communication between bankers and customers, so that the customers can more clearly understand the service they deserve, and it should enhance the requirement for updating the bank's internal information in a timely manner. Otherwise, Essex should disclose more and detailed supervising results to the public, which helps the customers conduct self-examination. For the misconducts that occur frequently, generally in the banking industry, and can generate huge profits, the Essex should, on the basis of issuing the infringement notice for fines and compensation, also make a series of enforceable undertakings or civil and criminal penalties. With the development of banking regulation, the bank service will be more transparent and orderly. In order to establish a stable banking and financial system, the regulation and the banks should work together to build a good environment with fair competition and put the customer's interest as the first priority. Thanks for watching. Thank you.